So I'm here with Natalie Fee. Natalie, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. Coming to you from Bristol today, and it's sunny, so it's nearly summer. Good.
It's like the mantra for all of us. It's nearly summer. It's the
Yeah,
way.
exactly, exactly. Phew.
Yeah, so listen. Let me start now. Feeling very negative about the whole thing. It's a struggle, I suppose, to feel hopeful about where we are with the planet, and because we're bombarded by negativity, negative stats, and everything. How do you keep yourself positive and kind of forward thinking in terms of we are in a better position than maybe we all feel?
Well, I think it helps to. I'd say two things really. One is to know that I am working towards a change through my organisation, City to Sea. So for me, sort of my day-to-day working life is spent doing something. So at least I don't feel sort of too overwhelmed, or I trust that I'm playing my part in the changes that we need to see in the world. So
Mm.
that's helpful. And the other thing really that keeps me connected and happy. I mean, it's literally a demonstration of it outside the window. I'm in central Bristol, and there's a bird having a little bath in a puddle of water on top of a new build that's just been built. It's like nature for me is what keeps me topped up and inspired, and how quickly it rebuilds and regenerates
Mm.
when we give it the space. So, although we have these huge challenges ahead of us, I generally feel very buoyed by nature, and that's where I go to when I need my tanks topping up.
I love that. But so do you have a responsibility kind of when other people come across to you as not seeing the point or it's too big for me? Is it your responsibility, do you feel, to bring them on side, or do you kind of let them be and what be for yourself?
Well, I mean, I think part of the joy of being a speaker and going out and reaching new audiences is that trusting that just small seeds can be planted. And it's not that I feel like I need to sort of evangelize and preach to people and make them feel bad about things. I tend to try and inspire people to make changes that they're excited to make and that they're feeling positive about. And I have a motto, which is there's a better way that's way more fun. And generally there's a sort of a phrase around, if you want to change the world, you want to have a better party, so that people are inspired and motivated, because we can motivate by carrot and stick, and sometimes it's the shocking sad statistics that make us motivated, and sometimes it's the fact that a simple switch towards a more planet positive behavior
Mm.
makes you feel better. And
Mm.
so, it's a win-win in that sense.
So have you always had a positive outlook in everything in life, or is this what you've developed over time as a way of being?
I think I generally am a glass half full person. Um, so I do tend to focus on the positive, but I'm also a realist, and I'm not afraid to sort of say things how they are, and express urgency and at times anger when needed. And I feel like that, when it's directed in the right places, can be a catalyst for change. Um, so it's not sort of rose tinted
Yeah.
um, sort of spectacles, but at the same time, I think it is important to, life is precious and short, and I think we should generally have a good time and enjoy ourselves whilst we're here. But yet, we've got the ecological emergency to deal with at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's a balancing act.
So, and what I should have asked it up front, but I'll ask, how do you think we're doing? Are we getting any better? Oh, is the world waking up, or are we still in our embryonic stages while the world around us runs away with us?
Yeah, the world is definitely waking up for sure, and yet governments and retailers are still very slow to act. So the big systemic forces that slow that change down, like corporate lobbying, and that affects how quickly governments can legislate, is can be very frustrating, because we know that really the onus shouldn't be on everyday individuals who perhaps don't understand what choices they need to make, or they can't afford to make some of the choices that they maybe feel they should make, or they're just too busy raising kids and learning and surviving. So the responsibility should be shouldered by our government. But when, especially here in the UK, with the short-term nature of the elections, people don't want to do things that's unpopular. So we tend to stay stuck in the old ways of doing things, when really those big leaps and changes could really carry things forward much faster. But then you see the joy in the grassroots initiatives and solutions, where people just take the power back into their own hands, and you see a flourishing of biodiversity and more resilient food systems and things like that in local communities. So I would say I do still believe we have a window for a sustainable and regenerative life on planet Earth, but we do still need to make sure we're all engaged and acting on it now.
And do you think is it better for us all to be doing little things, or is it to get be campaigning against the bigger picture? Like, would you prefer that I was doing something small, or be out there marching and being more an activist?
I think it's the little actions are what powers the trends. So when everybody starts shifting their behaviour a little bit in one direction, like, say for example, more people switching to green energy. Now you see nearly all energy companies pretty much have a green tariff. Some are greener than others, but those small individual actions power trends, and trends drive demand, and demand drives investment. So that all adds up and is part of the ecosystem of change. But I also really advocate students and young people who have a bit more time on their hands to be engaging more in volunteering and activism, conventional activism, and then older generation as well, sort of who've done the raising kids or career conventional bit, and then they've got a bit more time to dedicate to the letter writing and protesting, or whatever forms of activism appeal to people, because it's very important that happens. But I do understand and appreciate that certainly for those middle sort of aged people, it's harder because we're busier, and life is hard.
So can I just one point I want to pick up on there, which I find quite interesting, when you mentioned like most energy companies or all energy companies have a green tariff, and then you said some are greener than others. What, as a common folk, whatever I want to call myself, how can I find that out? Should I understand that? Should I be in a place where I understand that already, or is it actually overcomplicated for me? And actually, there's so much putting the veil over our eyes that actually it's difficult for us to understand what actually is really green and what isn't. What is?
Yeah. Well, there's a really easy way to do that, and I think a good thing that organisations can do is to get a subscription to Ethical Consumer. And you can have an organizational one, so your employees can log in and look at green energy and see which is the greenest, and that's that. And you can do that for anything from like food products to energy to furniture to fashion. So Ethical Consumer is a bit of a catch-all website. It's a bit like Which, but for scoring and ratings. And generally, if you can't access an Ethical Consumer membership, which it's affordable, especially for an organisation, but if you can't access one of those personally, then again, it depends on your time and your money, really. If you've got more time and more money, then you can research which are the greener energy companies, but then you will pay more money for that, UK generated green energy.
Brilliant. On that note, Natalie, thank you so much indeed for your time. I think I paused at the end because I was really thinking it through for myself personally, and then I realised we were chatting and that was rude pause. But listen, thank you so much for your time. It's been lovely chatting today, and have a good rest of the day.
My pleasure. Thanks for chatting to me, Nick.
No worries. Cheers.
Bye-bye.